Good afternoon and welcome back to day 3 of Words in the Garden. Over the past 2 days, the festival has been a vibrant meeting ground of ideas, art, performances, culture. And Words in the Garden is more than a festival. It's a shared space where ideas breathe freely, where there's a healthy exchange between heritage, intellect, culture. And today's session continues that spirit of inquiry and reflection, reminding us why conversations matter and why culture must always remain alive. As we gather on the final day, we turn our attention to one of the intellectual legacies in human history. This session, Nalanda, How It Changed the World, revisits the ancient university that once stood as a beacon of knowledge, attracting scholars from across Asia and beyond. To guide us through this remarkable legacy, we have with us Ambassador Abhay K, distinguished diplomat, poet, and author, whose work often bridges history, culture, and global engagement. A 2003 batch officer of the Indian Foreign Service, he currently serves as India's ambassador to Azerbaijan, widely known for his iconic Earth Anthem and translated into over 150 languages. His words have resonated across borders and cultures. In conversation with him is Ankita Mukherjee, an accomplished journalist and moderator known for her incisive questions and thoughtful conversations. Together, they're going to explore how Nalanda shaped global thought in science, philosophy, governance, and education, and why its spirit remains relevant even today. So I would like to invite you both on stage, and we'll start the conversation.
Thank you very much for that introduction. It's wonderful to be here and to be in conversation with Ambassador Abhay K, who's not just probably, who holds a record, I think, for being our youngest ambassador. And he's a poet, a diplomat, and an author, a historian now. So this promises to be a very engaging and interesting session. You got a glimpse of what Nalanda meant for the ancient world in that wonderful introduction we just heard. But let's just stop and think about this for a moment. We're not talking about 200 or 300 years ago or even 500 years ago. We're talking about 1,500 years ago. A quiet place in the eastern part of the country, which was the civilizational center of the world, in effect. You had students from literally all the ancient kingdoms and empires of the world coming to study in Nalanda. You had people from Nalanda going to other countries with their knowledge and sharing some of that knowledge. And really, the massive depth and breadth of the influence of Nalanda is what Ambassador Abhay K's book brings out so beautifully. So without further ado, I want to sort of ask him, what drew you to the subject of Nalanda in the first place?
Well, thank you, first of all, Nidhi, for this opportunity to interact with all of you through this festival, Words in the Garden. And a very warm afternoon to you. I come from Nalanda, so I felt indebted to tell the true history of Nalanda. I tried to find a book where I could read everything, possibly everything, about Nalanda. What was it? Why was it founded? Who founded it? When was it exactly founded? Who studied there? All these questions came to me when I visited the ruins of Nalanda Mahavihara. Nalanda is actually known as Nalanda Mahavihara. Its original name is Nalanda Mahavihara. And I used to often visit it with my parents in childhood. And all I was told that 10,000 students studied here. They were taught by 1,000 teachers. That's it, and it was burned. And it kept burning for 6 months. And the tallest structure which is there is actually the burnt library. So this was all I was told by the guides. Besides it, there was nothing which was usually given to you. So I thought that I'll ask these questions and try to explore answers to these questions, and that's how I came to write this book.
That's fantastic. And, you make such an important point because everyone's heard of Nalanda. We've read about it in our school history textbooks, but it really is just those 2 or 3 lines. And then to flesh that out, what sort of sources, presumably contemporary sources, did you look at? And was it difficult really to verify facts given that everything happened at a time when there are not so many contemporary accounts of what happened exactly?
Well, so I think there are fairly large amount of information available on Nalanda, but it's not put together in a coherent way. So we know of Nalanda as a place which is much more ancient than 1500 years ago, actually. So the story of Nalanda begins way back, even before 600 BC, which is known as, circa 600 BC, which is known as the time when Buddha lived. So Nalanda is much older than that. And not only Buddha himself, but also Mahavir, and other great philosophers of that time, like Makhali Gosal and, so many others, like Sanjay Belatiputta. They were all, in that area. They visited Nalanda because it was a sacred place. And the ancient Magad, where, I hope you all know where Nalanda is located. Any one of you? Where is it currently? The students behind. Where is Nalanda located?
Yeah, yes, I see a hand raised.
So I see one hand.
Yeah, tell us.
Wow, this is amazing. So see, it's good that I asked you this question. So Nalanda is actually located in Bihar. And Bihar was known before 11th century. It was known as Magad. Not only Bihar, but most of north of India, and in fact, the largest empire which India has had was under King Ashoka, Emperor Ashoka, which was part of the Magad Empire. So Nalanda is located in Bihar currently, and in 6th century BC, Magad was the most prominent Mahajanpad we know of, and with its capital at Rajgriha. And Nalanda and Rajgriha are located very close to each other. They are just 10 to 15 kilometers. And Rajgriha in 6th century BC was New York of today. It was where anybody who was seeking wealth, enlightenment, truth, they all rushed to Rajgriha. So when, for example, when Siddhartha Gautam, when he left his kingdom in Kapilavastu, he did not actually go to the west of India. He did not go to Takshashila. He came to Rajgriha because Rajgriha was the intellectual center at that time. And it was not only an intellectual center, but it was also the capital of the most powerful of Mahajanpada of that time, being ruled by a king called Bimbisar, and who had a son named Azad Satru. And the story of Nalanda begins there, because that time, when Gautam Siddhartha went to Rajgriha, he was still unenlightened, and he was looking for truth, And in Rajgriha, he met 5 other ascetics, who would later become his first 5 disciples in Sarnath. And they were together trying to find enlightenment, but they could not find it. And so they moved away little, further from Rajgriha to a place which is close to an ancient city known today as Gaya Ji or Gaya. And on the banks of the Niranjana river, little away from Gaya, Siddhartha Gautam, he found enlightenment. But after finding enlightenment, he went to Sarnath, which is next to Varanasi. And at Sarnath, he gave his first sermon. And the first 5 of his disciples were these ascetics whom he had met at Rajgarh. But after, the first sermon, which is also known as the turning of the wheel,
Yes.
he came back to Rajgarh. So Rajgarh is central to Buddhism. We do not get often to talk about it. But at Rajgarh, he met 2 other great people who are central to this book,
Right.
And they are known as, and they are known as Sariputra and Mogglayana. Both of them were from Nalanda. They were bosom buddies, born on the same day, and they had come to Rajgarh to seek enlightenment, like Buddha himself. But when they hear Buddha, his words, and Sariputra, he comes to him, and he does not. He has another teacher, another philosopher, and his name is Sanjay Belatiputta. So he does not only join Buddha, but he also brings 500 other disciples of Sanjay Belatiputta, and they become disciples of Buddha. So Buddha at Sarnath has only 5 disciples. When he comes back to Rajgarh, he has 506 disciples. So that's how, Buddha makes Sariputra his first chief male disciple. And Nalanda,
Right.
The story of
That's
Nalanda
the
begins with
origin-
Sariputra.
Yeah, that's the origin story, but also really the remarkable spread of Buddhism, also in a sense, was something Nalanda was responsible for in many ways. But let's just talk about how many Chinese travelers actually reached Nalanda, and how many accounts of Nalanda of the time are from the accounts of Chinese travelers. And also that gives us a sense of the kind of intellectual and cultural exchanges that happened between India and China in those days. And when you look at sort of current geopolitical situations and tensions, do you feel that there is a lesson there in the kind of exchanges that were possible because of the intellectual freedom that Nalanda offered?
Well, so, we often think of, Xuanzang as whenever we talk about the Chinese travelers who visited Nalanda. But it was not a one-way street. Actually, I have in this, the chapter, in chapter 4, the great luminaries of Nalanda, also mention a number of great scholars from Nalanda who went to China, actually, and not only to China but also to Tibet and to Korea, the 3 kingdoms of Korea that time, and to Sumatra and Java and to Central Asia, Bactria. So, but the main account through which we know Nalanda is of Xuanzang. He was a monk of active in the 7th century AD. He was, that time, the Tang dynasty was ruling China. And Xuanzang, he becomes a monk very early. He is one of the youngest monks we find in Chinese history.
So he has that in common with you, a record of sorts.
And then, in China at that time, Buddhism is very popular in 7th century AD. And Xuanzang, but he's confused that which text is actually correct, authentic. And he wants to find out the authentic one sutra. It's known as Yogacara Bhumi Sutra. He wants to find an authentic copy of that sutra. And that's only by hearsay. He learns from other monks who are traveling before him to Nalanda and to India that it's only found, the authentic copy can only be found at the great sutra library of Nalanda. So he undertakes an arduous journey at a time when the Tang emperor has banned any Chinese to leave the Tang Empire. And he leaves the boundaries of Tang Empire clandestinely at night. He is caught by a soldier. Then, he's miraculously left. He pleads with the soldier that, I'm seeking the true knowledge of the Buddha. He's almost killed in the Gobi Desert. He miraculously survived with the help of his horse. And he travels to Nalanda for almost 5 years on foot, on donkey, on a horse, on camel, whatever he could find. And that's the deal, to find one authentic copy of the Yogacara Bhumi Sutra. We also have other Chinese travelers who follow Xuanzang, for example, like Itzing, all in 7th century AD, because that's the period, which is the most important time for the visitors, to come to Nalanda. Nalanda is at its peak. And when he arrives in India that time, the North India is being ruled by King Harshvardhan. And Gupta Empire has already, vanished. And King Harshvardhan, in King Harshvardhan, he finds himself a great patron, a great supporter of Buddhism, who has not only built or given, built lots of new viharas at Nalanda and new temples dedicated to Buddha, but also has dedicated 200 villages, revenue of 200 villages for the upkeep of Nalanda. Yeah. And Xuanzang, when he comes back, from Nalanda, he spends 5 years there at Nalanda studying, and he, just see what he says. When he comes to Nalanda, his first impression, the whole establishment is surrounded by a brick wall, which encloses the whole convent from without. One gate opens into the great college, from which are separated 8 other halls, standing in the middle of the Sangharama. The richly adorned towers and the fairy-like turrets, like pointed hilltops, are congregated together. The observatories seem to be lost in the vapors of the morning, and upper rooms tower over the clouds. From the windows one may see how the winds and the clouds produce new forms, and above the soaring eaves the conjunctions of the sun and moon may be observed. Today is a special day, if you look at the sky, you can see all the 6 planets in conjunction. Yeah. But this is what he is telling us in 7th century AD. He is writing about Nalanda, and he says that from the towers you can see how the winds and clouds produce new forms, and above the soaring eaves, the conjunction of the sun and moon may be observed.
And it actually talks about observatories. This must have been one of the first observatories in the entire world, right? And which brings us really to the kind of knowledge that Nalanda propagated, the fact that there was astronomy, medicine, early discoveries in mathematics, all happening. Tell us a little more about that, the kind of knowledge that came out of Nalanda.
Well, so one of the chief contentions in this book, which I argue through evidence, through factual evidence, that, the idea of university itself is born at Nalanda. So actually, what is a university? You may ask yourself, So at the heart of the university is the idea of universal, The key word is universal. So Nalanda had this, universal number of subjects taught there. That included, as you're saying, astronomy, mathematics, philosophy, alchemy, medicine, of course, not only Buddhist philosophy, but it also had all the other philosophies, Vedic philosophies, and so on. So Nalanda,
and that it involved argument and debate and even dissent.
Exactly.
To really bring knowledge
forward. So one of the key characteristics of Nalanda was that universal, any discipline which was known to mankind was taught there. And second, who taught them? So it was not just people from India. It was the faculty consisted of people from across the world. So you had from if you look at the lineage of the great luminaries of Nalanda, they are not exactly all of them from India. There are people from Sri Lanka, there are people from China, there are people from Korea.
The Arab world.
So Sumatra, you have from Bactria. So you have universal character in Nalanda's faculty, and the students also come from all across the world. They are not only from Magad or from other Mahajanpadas. So at Nalanda, you have the celebration of this universal But it is not just universal faculty or a student, but the admission policy which is universal. So for the first time, you have a shift from the gurukuls to where only princes can study, to an institution which welcomes anybody who can pass, questioning by the Dwarpala Pandit. So Nalanda has completely different system of entrance. You can come to the gates of Nalanda and engage in debate and discussion with the Dwarpala Pandit. And if you are able to successfully engage, then you will be let in. If you are not, then...
So literally it is the level of your
Exactly.
intellectual discourse and debate and
that will...
an ability to dissent and have a contrarian point of view that
will
lets
help
you entry into this university.
Correct. So here...
Would you, I have to interrupt
Sure,
at this
sure,
point
sure.
and ask you a question about sort of modern day universities. Do you think we are following in the Nalanda tradition? Are our universities encouraging debate and dissent in the way they, our ancient traditions have perhaps pointed us to?
See, I mean, I can say...
You're a JNU alumnus, I think. So, when we hear about students being locked on campus so that they can't go on a protest.
As Sven Sang writes, he says that Nalanda was famous for its specialization in the art of disputation and public speaking. And he says that foreign monks came to the establishment to put an end to their doubts and then become celebrated. So it was not just a normal, any Mahavihara. It was something a place very renowned. And, he says that he describes the keeper of the gate poses some difficult questions. Many are unable to answer and retire. And they are, so also monks of all major and minor Buddhist sects, they came to study at Nalanda Mahavihara and engaged in debates and discussion, as Sven Sang notes. And he says that, the intellectual and philosophical differences were a cause of celebration. Yeah. So modern universities, sometimes you feel was Nalanda a true university, or, what we call modern university, are they true universities, in Nalanda's sense. So when I started writing the book, I had this question in my mind that was Nalanda really a university, or was it just a Mahavihara? But Buddhist Mahavihara. But when I ended, when I finished writing the book, I came to this conclusion that actually the idea of university itself is born at Nalanda. And not only through, what all these, all the celebration of universalism, the celebration of differences, but also the architectural plan of a university. So if you have gone to, Delhi University or Oxford University or Cambridge University or any other university, the classical university in a classical sense, you will find that, these universities have a courtyard plan. Even Oxford has the courts and the quads and courts there in Oxford and Cambridge. And if you go to Miranda House, you can see this. You go to Delhi University.
A walled enclosure,
exactly.
A garden in the middle.
So where does that come from? I visited the Ulugh Beg's Madrasa in Samarkand, and I found the same design, the same courtyard plan, which is surrounded by, you have a courtyard surrounded by the cells of the monks, students, and which is multi-storied, not one, not just one.
So it's very interesting to see that progress, because here was Nalanda, and then, you had universities in what is now West Asia.
Correct.
And, your Oxford and Cambridge, which I held up to us as sort of the earliest universities, were only in the 12th century, coming much far later, and Sorbonne and so on in Europe. So the idea of the university was very much born in this country, on our land.
That's what the factual evidence shows. And it's not just the university's architectural plan and the idea, but also, also the administration system.
Yeah.
Because university is a place, it's not just an architectural assemblage, which you see. I mean, I urge that, you should all visit Nalanda and you will see how massive it is. if you look at the modern universities, they are like pale resemblances of what Nalanda was.
But
So
let's
y-
talk a little more
so-
about
so-
the kind of,
Exactly.
the knowledge project of Nalanda as well.
Right.
Some of India's best-known names, in a sense, ancient
Right.
India's best-known names, Aryabhatta, who we associate with Zero, and Brahmagupta, who came 2 centuries after him.
Right.
All of them were actually products of Nalanda.
Well, not Brahmagupta, but Aryabhat for sure. Aryabhat actually becomes the first person in the whole world to use a notational system of writing. So in 5th century AD, what you have and up to actually the rest of the Europe up to 12th century AD. But in 5th century AD, no one is using, in a positional notation. What is a positional notation? That, if you want to write 10, you can write 1 and 0. You want to write 100, you can write 1, 0, 0. But what Romans are doing, they are writing, they are writing these letters, they're not using positional notation. So Aryabhat, he himself does not he does not uses the digit as we, the number we use, like the sign we use for 0, like this. But he's using, these words. But these words are like in a positional notation. So you have ka, kha, ga, but like they are one after another. So the basic idea and concept of 0 is there. But it takes, and Aryabhat is, he's born in Kusumpur, which is the old name or one of the old names of Patliputra or Patna. And he's in that area, in Nalanda. And he's also familiar with the philosophy of Shunyata, which is the major philosophy taught at Nalanda, the most important philosophy, which was given by Nagarjuna, who comes actually from South India. And Nagarjuna is actually the philosophical founder of Nalanda. So Nalanda goes back to the times of Nagarjuna as an educational institution. So it's not just 5th century AD, as most of the world knows, but it's actually the 1st to 2nd century AD. And you have a lineage from Nagarjuna onwards who are teaching at Nalanda of great philosophers, great mathematicians. So Aryabhat is the person who gives us 0, but he does not only give us 0, he also gives us the concepts which later, when translated into Arabic at Bayt al-Hikmah in Baghdad, is known as Al-Jabra, or the book of calculation, Al-Jabr, or which becomes, becomes later known as algorithm, because of Al-Khwarizmi, who translates the works of both Aryabhat and Brahmagupta.
So trigonometry, in a sense, was invented in India as well.
100%. Not only trigonometry, but you have geometry, the sine functions. You have you have 0, of course, which is which actually led to the revolution which we see today in AI.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you bring up AI, because we're all so constantly thinking of AI. And one point you make so beautifully in the book is about how the libraries of Nalanda were burnt. And at the time, it took weeks, if not months, for the entire library to burn down, because it was the world's biggest storehouse of knowledge. There were more books in that one place than there were anywhere else in the world, possibly. And, in modern day equivalents, it would be like if the world's largest data center, AI data center, were to be suddenly destroyed. So, would you say that we are, in a sense, at another inflection point where where knowledge is power, and anyone who has the knowledge of the world is really at the heart of the global civilizational project? And, given that, what lessons can we take from the way Nalanda flourished, but also from the way Nalanda was destroyed?
Well, so Nalanda had a great library, which is, we have evidence from the works of Xuanzang and Yixing and others, because when Xuanzang went back from Nalanda, he, remember what I told you, he had only come from one sutra, Yogacara Bhumi Sutra. But when he went back from Nalanda, he carried with him the copies of 657 texts, and which had, sutras and shastras, and all the details are in this book. What he exactly carried back, and what happened to those works. It Singh, when he went back from Nalanda, he carries 400 Sanskrit texts with him. By the way, the medium of teaching at Nalanda was Sanskrit, because Nalanda was a cosmopolitan place, and it needed a common language which could be learned and spoken by people coming from various areas, beginning from Nagarjuna, who was not actually from Magad, who was from, South India. So obviously, if there were texts, then only you can copy them.
Right.
So there is, clear evidence that Nalanda had a great library. But what is more important, that Nalanda had a public library, in the sense that anybody could access it, and it was funded by the state, in the sense it had a royal patronage. So it was a public good. So today what we can learn from Nalanda, Nalanda's library was known as Dharmaganj, and it had 3 edifices, and one of them was 9-storied tall, as is the library of JNU,
Right.
So exactly 9-storied. So how was it? And from JNU's library, actually, on the top floor, I mean, those of you who have been to JNU, and if you've been to the library of JNU, from the top floor you can see Qutub Minar, and there is, how Nalanda came to its end. So if you have studied, I mean, I would be surprised if you have studied Indian history, but by 10th century, India was already going through tripartite struggles, if you look at the Indian history. And this tripartite struggle is between the powers in the east of India, the west of India, and the south of India. You have the Rashtrakutas in the south, you have the Palas in the east, and you have the Chauhans in the west. And they are fighting with each other. And this leads to weakening. India becomes politically, militarily, and strategically weak. And it leads to, it attracts foreign invaders, foreign in the sense that, those who could possibly come and take over. So second thing, that, Buddhism itself, it has become divided. There are 18 sects of Buddhism at that time, and they are all have infighting, they are fighting for dominance. At the same time, you have Bhakti, movement strengthening in that part of India. And lots of, the common people are slowly, giving up esoteric Buddhism, which has also transformed from the Shunyata philosophy of Nagarjuna and Yogacara philosophy of Vasubandhu and the Sangha to the Vajrayana philosophy or Tantric Buddhism, which is great in itself, because Tantric Buddhism which gives us what you today practice as yoga. The Hatha Yoga comes from Nalanda, the Siddhas of Nalanda. The ancient, the oldest texts of actually Hatha Yoga is traced to the Siddhas of Nalanda. And also, architecture-wise, which is the largest Buddhist monument in the world today? Any one of you? No. It's not in India. It's Borobudur, And if you have been to Borobudur, or if you have seen it, please take a look. The Borobudur is a 3-dimensional mandala, actually, the architectural plan. And you will see, there's a close connection between Borobudur and we have a stupa in Kesharia in Bihar. But also the architectural plan of a mandala comes from Tantric Buddhism. So, if you read about Baghdad, and the architectural plan of Baghdad actually in 8th, 9th century, when Brahmagupta's work is being translated, Baghdad's architectural plan is based on a mandala. And so you will see these connections, but that's a huge contribution of Nalanda and Tantric Buddhism. But what happens that by 10th century, Nalanda is already on its decline, in the sense there is lots of infighting and so on. And at the same time, you also have, you all know about the Battle of Tarai. The first Battle of Tarai, anyone who wins the first Battle of Tarai? And between whom is it? Yes, but who wins the battle? Yes, but the second battle of Tarai, Prithvi Raj Chauhan loses that battle. And there's a very famous, story of Jaichand, that who betrays him. It's historically not accurate, but Jaichand is the last ruler of Gaharwal dynasty that controls from Banaras, controls that area where Nalanda is located. And Jaichand actually loses the battle, after Prithviraj Chauhan. There is another battle, and he loses to Muhammad of Ghor. And after the defeat of Prithviraj Chauhan, the second battle of Palasi, Muhammad of Ghor sends 3 generals to India. And one of them is, of course, Qutubuddin Aibak, after whom Qutub Minar is named. You have second one is called Bakhtiar Khalji. And the north of India at that time is so weak that Bakhtiar Khalji marches across the plains of North India with only 200 horses. And clandestinely, without looking like, in a very docile way that's not going to attack. It's just a very peaceful march. And then there is this historian, Delhi-based historian called Minhaj-e-Siraz. And Minhaj-e-Sirazi writes that, Bakhtiar and his 200 horses, men, he's marching clandestinely and then suddenly attacks this fort, which is known as Vihar. It just mentioned Bihar. And then, all the monks there, they are shaven, their heads are shaven like me, and they're all killed, And then he finds that in the fort there's nothing but books. And then he tries to find that, who is there to read? Somebody can explain, and there is nobody left. This is what the description is. Now, this place, is considered that this was Odantapuri. It's not written in the original book whether it is Odantapuri or it is Nalanda or which Vihara it is.
Yes, but I think it can perhaps be concluded that this is indeed Nalanda, and the burning of the library happened also concurrently with that. But we will have to sort of throw this open to the audience. I just want to ask you one last question, and for this I'd like you to kind of have your diplomat's hat on as much as your historian's hat on. And, we've talked about how Nalanda is this amazing place where people are coming in from rival kingdoms, from separate cultures, from disparate religions, and there is scope to debate and argue and dissent, and, this whole sort of knowledge and creative fervor and environment of the place. So, given kind of current geopolitical tensions, what is the sort of lesson you think Nalanda can give to those? For instance, right now our phones are constantly buzzing with this US-Israel joint strike on Iran and Iran retaliating. There seem to be these irreconcilable conflicts that keep coming back to haunt us now with greater and greater frequency. So, what lessons does a civilizational project like Nalanda from, 2,000 years ago give us? How does it equip us to deal with this current moment where everything seems so very ephemeral and transitional?
So, I just wanted to add that Nalanda did not actually end in 12th century AD, Nalanda continued to survive. And, Fenpo Nalindra, actually, which was founded in 1435 in Tibet, actually, which continues till today. And there are institutions named after Nalanda across the world. You have it in New York, you have it in Toulouse, you have it in Brussels, you have it in Australia, you have it in Thailand, all across. And
but names are not necessarily the cultural traditions of a place.
But they follow the Nalanda tradition. You have Nalanda Institute in Brazil, and they all, they take inspiration from Nalanda. And you have actually Nalanda University now, which was inaugurated last year, 2024. And
how do you think that sort of measures up to the glory of the ancient Nalanda?
It was not only founded by India, actually. So East Asian Summit countries, they all came together to found Nalanda. And today, that Nalanda University actually has, I mean, because I come from that place, and visit that often, it has more, it has the foreign students in that university today come from 21 different countries, which is larger in number than the original Nalanda had. But obviously, I mean, to build a great institution takes time. It has just been founded, and but I do recommend that everyone of you should visit both the ruins of Nalanda and the new Nalanda. There are several photographs in this book, and you can see, how does it look like, or Google it, and what is taught there. But, to me, to answer your question, to me, the greatest contribution of Nalanda to human history was not Zero, or the philosophy of Shunyata, or philosophy of, Vajrayana. I think its greatest contribution, is, to me, is as our planet faces the triple threats, of climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental pollution, humanity needs to make peace both with its inner self as well as with the fellow species, rivers and lakes, oceans, and all entities that support life on our beautiful planet. Nalanda's timeless tradition of imparting knowledge, wisdom, and kindness, I think, can guide humanity towards overcoming hatred, anger, frustration, and greed, while fostering inner and outer peace.
Wonderful. And a great note, really, to open this up to any questions that we might have. Yes.
Thank you for that wonderful conversation. My question is a little philosophical. So you talked about the Madhyamik doctrine of Shunyata actually dominating the entire ecosystem. But why did you think that a tool which is essentially a tool for personal liberation ended up becoming this very rigorous dialectical framework that ended up dominating the entire university ecosystem? How did you think that sort of transition actually took place, if you have talked about that in your book?
Well, so anybody who went to Nalanda did not go there seeking a job, or studying there to build a career. That time, in those times, people who were traveling all the way from, you can imagine the passion and dedication of Swensang. So, and the monks, like, he was not the only monk. I have given the biographical details of 56 other foreign monks who were there at Nalanda during that time. So not only them, but also anybody who went to Nalanda, they went to know what is truth, what is truth made of, and to seek enlightenment, to know the nature of reality. So when you are trying to find an answer to the biggest question in life, I think you end up studying everything. So that's how Nalanda emerged as an institution which was designed to push the boundaries of knowledge. So that's why you have that architectural plan evolving there, the courtyard plan, where the students and teachers live together. And it becomes a residential university. It's not that you are coming there morning 9 o'clock and leaving at 4. So this is how, because you are seeking truth, you are asking an answer, you are trying to find an answer to the ultimate question of life, that what is truth?
We call it the Socratic method, but maybe it should be called the Nalanda method instead, the whole question and answer, and delving deeper and deeper into a situation to really get to the ultimate knowledge about it. Do we have any other questions? Yes. Can we get a mic here to the lady?
So just to add, Nagarjuna, he's also the father of alchemy, the Indian alchemy. So he's not only given Shunyata to us, but he also gives us the first book of alchemy. He also gives us, medicine. So he becomes a not only a figure for philosophy, a founding father for Nalanda's philosophy of Shunyata, but also, he's also actually the writer of Pragya Paramita Sutras, which he attributes to Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara.
Okay, we have a question there from the gentleman.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for such a nice enlightenment. My question is, how can you see Nab in the context of Nab Nalanda Vihar, India South policy?
Well, Nab Nalanda Mahavihar was founded, in 1951 actually, and it was the foundation stone, was led by none other than Dr. Rajendra Prasad, our first president. And the idea of Nab Nalanda Mahavihar was to recreate, the new Mahavihara like the old one. And of course it had various disciplines including Buddhism, but I think the new university, the Nalanda University, it's much closer to realizing Nalanda's international character and universal approach
And do
and
you think it
interdisciplinary
has
learning.
the soft power to really bring the same sort of, intellectual leaders to India and turn it into a Nalanda of old?
Well, I mean, it's a work in progress. We already have students there from 21 different countries, faculty from, a diverse faculty, and a great campus. I mean, I truly, urge you to go and visit both the new campus of Nalanda University. It's truly astounding in its architectural plan, designed by B.V. Doshi ji, and it's a beautiful campus.
But thank you so very much for all that insight, and I'm afraid we're really running out of time. Do we have, I don't think we have time for any more questions, but please feel free to ask the ambassador after this session, because I think we have a short break in between. But thank you all, and thank you indeed for that very illuminating conversation, and for indeed bringing out so many facts about Nalanda that were perhaps there in different sources, but really brought together in the first time in this very definitive way. It was a fascinating read. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
As we continue our journey at Words in the Garden, we now turn to a conversation that celebrates creativity, identity, and the evolving language of design. Fashion Forward, the Indian Lens, explores how Indian aesthetics, craft traditions, and cultural narratives are shaping contemporary fashion. We're asking a very important question. How does India look at fashion, and how does fashion look back at India? We are honored to have this session moderated by Professor Nitika Seth, who is the Dean of Department of Design at IILM University. I would like to welcome her on stage, and then we'll start the session. Thank you.
This incredible festival. The topic for today is Fashion Forward through an Indian lens. Now we're living at a time where we're really spoiled for choice. International brands, homegrown labels, luxury, streetwear, couture, conscious fashion, everything is available, visible, and competing for our attention. In the middle of all of this abundance, what does the word forward really mean? To help us figure this out, we've got a great panel today. 3 distinct vantage points: design practice, fashion entrepreneurship, material research rooted in Indian textiles, to help us explore and understand how heritage is translated, scaled, and challenged. My first guest today is Shivani Girdhar. She has carved a distinctive space in the fashion and lifestyle industry. Shivani represents a new generation of women entrepreneurs who blend ambition and authenticity. A powerhouse entrepreneur and founder of Utopia, she has a huge following of over 100,000 followers on Instagram and understands very closely the pulse of the current generation. A round of applause for my first guest, Shivani Girdhar. My next guest, Shubhi Sachan, is a sustainability advocate. She is the founder of the Material Library of India and a materials expert trained in textiles and material futures from Central St. Martin's, London. A TEDx speaker, her work has been recognized globally. After working with luxury brands such as Givenchy and McQueen, she shifted to sustainability, transforming waste into innovative material solutions. A round of applause for our next panelist. Gaurav Jagtiani is the founder and creative director of Line Tribe, known for pushing boundaries in art, fashion, and identity. With over 2 decades of experience in the fashion industry, his work challenges conventions and celebrates individuality. He has also been featured on the entrepreneurial reality show Pitch to Get Rich on Hotstar, bringing his creative vision to a national audience. Welcome, Gaurav. All right, let's get started. Everybody's mics working? Okay, my
Hello.
first question is to all of you. What does it mean to be fashion forward when you're looking through an Indian lens? Is it about speed or continuity? Is it about reinvention or reinterpretation? Is it about breaking away from tradition or building from it? Whoever would like to go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I think whenever we speak about moving forward, I think it's important to acknowledge that you're looking at betterment in any which way or form. Because we always look at the future as a time when things are and should be better. So fundamentally, in terms of, and you speak specifically of fashion, but I think we all know and acknowledge now that fashion is a vast umbrella. It's an ecosystem. It's livelihoods, it's cultural expression, it's identity, like what I believe in. So I think it's the betterment and a space that we all want to move to, where each of these moving pieces in the ecosystem are benefited. Certain goals and certain systems and certain visions that we have for to achieve, that we work towards that in whatever way. And it could be aesthetic as well. When we say future, aesthetically also to explore an exploration, expressions that are personal, individual, that could not have been done earlier maybe, and that we now have the choice and the agency to do. So, I mean, obviously it's a large and complex concept, but I think we need to always fundamentally think that tomorrow is going to be better, and what can we do in our way, small or big, to work towards that through the medium, in our case, of fashion.
Okay, that's great.
Sorry, what were the contradictions you were saying? Continuity or?
Is it about speed or continuity, reinvention or reinterpretation, breaking away from tradition or building from it?
I think when we're talking about continuity and we're talking about breaking away, I think the first one answers for the rest too by saying that if you're talking about continuity, I mean, if I have to start singing today, my bass will be Saregama, right? So there has to be a foundation to something. Then only you can build upon it. So, I mean, if you're talking about rhythm, if you're talking about continuity, then it's always building from the past. You can't just cut that down and say like, oh, today onwards, I'm going to start a new chapter. So it's always like that. And I think it's pretty simple that you will be having a traditional, I mean, we have a project like that, traditional future. So a tradition is only taking you towards the future. It's not like cut today and there is a future. So yeah, I mean, we work on that philosophy.
Thank you. Shivani?
I personally believe that it's all of it. So when you talk about fashion, it's so big and like you said, reinvention or reinterpretation. I think it's both. So like, for example, both of them have put it so well already. So just to add to that, I personally believe like fashion has a way of coming back again, always. And when you say fashion forward, I personally believe now everyone's becoming really conscious on what they buy, how they buy, and what they're buying. Sustainability, I would say, is the main thing, and like staying towards the roots. So basically, like fashion has got a way of like reinventing all the time. Like how in the 80s and 90s, flare jeans used to be the thing, and then it completely disappeared. And now it's all over the place again. So yeah, I believe that it's all of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, I mean, really, if I had to sort of sum it up, I'd say perhaps being truly fashion forward is not about chasing the next big thing or the next big trend, but perhaps reconnecting with what we already have.
I just want to add a tiny thing there,
course.
because I think we mentioned tradition, right? I think tradition is a very big word, and I feel like I'm compelled to say we must interject here and say that you've got to break it down, because there are certain traditions in the way, say, for instance, craftspeople work, or how how people that are working on daily wages for us as fashion business owners are treated. And traditionally, they've been marginalized, they've been oppressed. So in this discourse, when we say, okay, yes, we're working from tradition, I think it's very important to say that betterment, certain traditions and certain things that have been done in a certain way, perhaps we could move away from, and certain perhaps we could embrace. For instance, the hand skills, the empowering of these people. And I think they're very empowered, by the way. They don't need us to empower them. But as business owners, as people that drive economy, and we have to look at ourselves apart from our artistic expression, we're all here trying to make sure that everyone has a better livelihood. So when we speak of tradition, I think it's very conscious. We need to be very conscious and very aware that, especially in the Indian subcontext, tradition is a very heavy and layered word. So we must acknowledge that the future, because that was your question, that the future has to be that also of bettering and building traditions that move us towards something better.
All right, great. Very, very well
Thank
said.
you.
Okay, my next question is to Shubhi. You worked with legends like Alexander McQueen, Givenchy, but now you focus on waste. Why is looking at what we throw away the most forward thing a designer can do today?
I mean, working with the fashion houses made me retrospect what am I doing, because till that point I think working where people are getting fair wages and working where people are getting enough work and fair wages and getting if a Zardozi Karigar is getting Zardozi work and not being forced to do something else, was my idea of, oh wow, this is good. But then in those scenarios, in those setups, I'm doing a 40-meter trail garment, and that 40-meter trail garment gone wrong for one minor thing where the fabric is from here and that is from there. And then it just takes 5 minutes for someone to say, discard it. Yeah. Because it's 40-meter garment. 40-meter garment getting remade by hand is no joke again. So now, very, very obviously, those fair wages go for a toss, because they will be pushed to do that work which they have done in over like 25, 30 days very quickly again. Because, nobody's going to go and tell the client that, no, this is not happening. So those are the kind of incidents where, everything changed. That, what am I doing? Why am I doing? Why am I not thinking beyond? And that was for me. And but I guess to answer the other part of the question, why am I working with waste? I'm not really working with waste. We are working with systems rather, where material is a tool. The organization name is Material Library of India, because systems thrive on material, material thrive on systems. If I have a diamond in my hand, if I don't have a system, diamond will remain like a rock. It has no value. So system and materials go hand in hand. So if we try to change anything, we have to understand the system around it. And by systemic failure, or so to say, the understanding of materials, we are forced to work with waste, aren't we? We're surrounded by waste, right? I mean, there's no end to it. We're just buried in it. So I think I don't have a choice. We do have events where we have talked about regenerative future altogether. But regenerative future can only happen when we have that traditional knowledge taken in the right manner ahead. But it cannot happen otherwise. So current scenario, the rescue operation in front of us is, there is fire in the house and you have to bring the fire down, and that is waste. And we're forced to talk about upcycling, recycling. Then only you can talk about regeneration. Because in those materials and in those systems, recycling was not a term. Recycling didn't exist. Now we are forcing ourselves to think of recycling where we are not even designing for recycling. So I'm forced. I would say it like that.
All right, thank you. Shivani, you have a massive community online. You started off with being a content writer. Today, you're a fashion entrepreneur. When a young person buys from you, are they looking for a piece of tradition, or are they just looking for the next big trend?
I think both. So when I say both, so my brand is called Utopia. It's a loungewear label. And I am selling quality pieces. I personally believe in organic fabrics and selling quality over quantity. Price points are slightly higher, but when I'm sending out a piece to a client, I'm selling an experience to them. From the packaging, from the fabric, everything like the experience, like, you know, it's an entire experience. And it's a piece of luxury, I would say. It's not just a regular nightwear that anybody is buying from me. So I believe when anybody is shopping from me, they're buying both.
Yeah. All right. My next question is to you, Gaurav. You said you avoid the stereotypical tropes of Indian design. In a world full of block prints and embroidery, how do you make something feel Indian using only the inspiration of a modern city?
Okay. So when I said that, that was to say that I feel sometimes as Indian designers, we tend to lean very heavily on certain techniques or certain crafts that have been done. And I'm going to tie this into what you said about reinterpretation, reinvention. I don't think we reinvent easily. And I think because reinvention takes work, it's easy to not reinvent. जैसे चल रहा है चलने दो, कढ़ाई हो रही है, जरदोजी हो रही है, वैसे ही चलने दो. It's challenging to reformat. So I have consciously tried to say that, you know, of course India has beautiful embroidery, and of course it's on red carpets, and of course there's so many people doing stunning work, but a very specific kind of work. You know, you can look at that embroidery or that lehenga and say, oh, of course this was made in India. And I like a challenge. I like a good challenge. I think design is challenge. You know, you want to give yourself something difficult to do. I don't want to be an autopilot. So I said, you know what? I am an Indian designer. I've lived here my entire life. I'm a Delhiite. You know, I'm born in the city. I like the city life. I can't speak for somewhere I've never been, right? So how do I take those inspirations and still make it Indian and still make it urban and still have an element of hand and craft in it? It's a challenge, but it's a beautiful challenge. So I'll give you examples. You know, we do this thing, a technique which is hand dyeing, all right? We have great local talent. I have a dyer that works with me very closely. He's 2 doors down from where my unit is in Shapurjat. And we do these tiny micro-dyed pieces as panels, as, you know, little inserts, and then we hand ruche it, and then we put it in pantsuits and things like that. Now, the thing is, when you see the outfit, because we do a lot of pantsuits, we do a lot of tailoring, structure, I love pattern making, I love all of that. When you see the piece, does it look, quote unquote, distinctly Indian? Maybe not. But the interesting thing is, whenever I've shown it to a customer or client that lives abroad, a European or an American, they are like, this cannot be done here. Because they don't have that bandwidth. They don't have that, the artisan designer connect so quickly, so easily, with such transparency doesn't exist over there. No one's going to take 2 tukras and, you know, sit with them and dye it. we can do that, and we want to nurture that, and we are nurturing that, and we are providing that supply to, for these craftspeople. For example, when I said embroidery, I avoid, and this is just very personal, right? I don't necessarily want to take a paisley, or I don't necessarily want to take a motif that's existed, but I want to take the techniques that they do by hand, right? So I do a lot of grid-like embroideries, because when you look at a map of a city, it's like basically a strange grid, right? So I take inspirations like that from streets or buildings or rows of apartments, because it's real inspiration. I mean, I've lived here. That's what I've seen. And then I think, now how can I make this somewhat decorative or somewhat enhancing to a silhouette? So to answer your question in this long-winded way, what I'm trying to say is basically that there are many Indias, and there are many versions of India. And as a designer, I think it's important for us to find our own authentic way of saying that this is India. This is my India. I've lived in Delhi. It is what it is. I love that Ames flyover. It's a very interesting pattern, for example. I can take it and do something with it, right? It's not exciting for me to just take an Ambi and put it on a pantsuit. That doesn't work for me. Where's the fun in that, right? So that's what I mean when I say I don't want to do a stereotypical trope of India. I know it sounds, when you said it to me, I was like, wow, did I say that? I know it sounds tough, but I mean, I can back it up. Yeah, that's my take on it.
No, it sounds good. We need to find inspiration around us, and it can be from pretty much anything. Yeah. My next question is to all of you. We have artisans on one side and algorithms on the other. Going forward, which one do you think is going to be more important in the Indian fashion scenario? Whoever wants to go first.
I mean, if you're talking about only in fashion context, if you make this or that, there's no or, there can be an and. Because if you remove artisan, what will you put algorithm on? Maybe data centers, yes. But if in a fashion, in a craft and a textile context, you want to put algorithm, you have to have artisans, because a lot of us are jarred down by the fact that it's slow. Actually, on the side note, it's not slow. We just are expecting unnecessary speed. I mean, when you plant a sapling, you don't say, hurry up, I need it tomorrow. That only happens in an assembly line. So assembly lines are human touch, Midas touch by human. But nature doesn't do all of this. Nature says, I am in sync, I am in rhythm, and I'll give you what's best for you. So nature is not defined by slow. We just want unnecessary speed, be it quick commerce or be it data centers. And that's why we have started to feel this is unnecessarily slow. And hence, I don't think there is or. Even if you have to, that is not a very great way of taking that tradition forward. But even if you have to, algorithm. I mean, sorry, before I finish this, I will just say one very quick example. We all see craft. When you think of craft, how many of you think of craft as something which is technical? When you think of craft, do you think of a pair of juti? Or do you think of a stole? Or a scarf or a sari? Not survival mechanism, not something which has been built on science. I mean, something as simple as mirror and abla work in the scorching desert. It's been done because they don't have fancy architecture. They are reflecting sunlight by a material which is taking very easily occurrence in that land patch. And they're putting it on their fabric to reflect sunlight back. That's their survival. The turbans go bigger. So crafts are technical. Crafts are not like, आज मुझे ये मिट्टी अच्छी लग रही है, I will make a pot out of it and that will become my kind of a design element. No, crafts are deeply rooted in technicalities. It's up to us, how do we see it? Now, if you put algorithm to it, I don't know, maybe yes. But someone as sensitive as an artisan putting an algorithm to his tradition can only do justice. Are we ready to bridge that gap? Are we ready to take that notch of saying, oh, this is an artisan, and we will tell this artisan that this technology can be used, or this algorithm can be used to make this job better. I will equip you to apply this algorithm wherever you find the gaps and bridge it. Then I think it's a justified scenario. Otherwise, I think what we're talking is not going to have a very sensitive approach.
All right? Gaurav?
Yeah, what was the question again, Nitika?
You have artisans on one side, algorithms on the other. Going forward, when we're talking about the Indian context,
Yeah.
does it have to be either or
Right.
both? What is your take on
Right.
it?
No, I don't think like as you said, it's not a binary. It doesn't have to be this or that. I think there's a sense that the algorithm or all of these developments, technological developments, are going to overshadow or in somewhat way disenfranchise the artisan. I think as people that are aware of both realities, such as us, a lot of it rests with us to make sure that, see, AI, technology, these are just tools. It's something today, it's going to be something tomorrow, it's going to be something day after. The very same technology can be used for greater good, for better dissemination of information. Just putting that craft out there, for instance. I have to tell you, there's a little very nice weavers exhibition right here at IIC, which I hopped into just before I came to see you guys. And they have this there was this one stall which has this incredible craft called Tangalia, which is absolutely stunning. It looks like code. It's like braille on textile. It's stunning. Now, the thing is, I know about it because a friend of mine did a project on it, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't have had access to it. I may not have known it. But because of the medium, for example, there's Instagram, there's everything that we're looking at visually right now. We're consuming so much information that is not relevant, that doesn't do us any good. But if there was, and there are ways of saying that, this guy is doing this great work, I can DM him. I want that fabric. I need it. It's gorgeous. As a designer, or whether it's, my mom who's on Facebook and who just wants it. It's fine. That's not the question. The vision should always be that, look, the technology is happening, the algorithm is happening. We can sit here and we can debate about it and we can keep saying, is it good, is it bad? It's how you use it. And I think it's an insane opportunity right now for us to be able to push these things to the forefront of the conversation, as well as what we're consuming, whether it's social media or otherwise. It's consumption, it's access, it's just introducing people to it. An entire generation today, it's so much easier for maybe when I was in college, the internet had just started. There was no Instagram. I had to actually go to a bloody library and be like, oh, T for Tangalia or whatever. Today, these guys can pick up a phone and they're like, we heard Gaurav speak about this. What is this? And all of them will go and do their research online, on Instagram. Their algorithm then is going to show them other weaves because they've searched for it. It's too easy to make it binary. I think we really need to, again, which is what I started with. I was like, you have to look at things going better tomorrow. Now, what can we do today to make sure that happens? And I think the algorithm, AI, technology, Instagram, social media, enough has been said. There's so many evils to it. There's so many problems with it. But there's also a lot of good stuff that come out of it. It's not binary.
Okay, great. And like you said, you have a very good relationship with Instagram.
I have a great relationship with Instagram. I'm always on Instagram.
All right. Now, speaking of Instagram, you know this space very, very well. Your take on this, Shivani?
So I think algorithm and artisan goes hand in hand. I wouldn't say either or, because I would choose both because it supports each other. So without algorithm is basically scale and artisan is tradition. So when it goes hand in hand, it's just better. So so many times, now with the technology and everything, now you get to know via Instagram that, oh my God, this fabric is somewhere here. So you can, like he said, you can reach out to them, DM them, and contact them and source it. So I feel like, yeah, these two things go hand in hand, and without it, I think it's not going to be this
Okay,
thing.
that's
Yeah.
good. So it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. We have one final round, which is going to be a quick rapid fire round. Each of you can hold your mics.
I'm
going to
nervous.
ask- Really, Gaurav?
No, not really.
Okay, so quick questions and then your take on it. Okay, my first question: handloom or high tech?
Handloom
Both.
and high-tech together.
If there's something we've learned today.
Handloom with a high-tech mindset.
All right.
Oh,
good one.
nice.
One Indian city that is the most fashion forward right now.
Delhi. Bold and unapologetic.
Okay.
Northeast. Not one city, but Northeast.
Guys, this is, you're going to find this maybe surprising, but a lot of tier 2 cities are very fashion forward. I retail at a store in Raipur. And believe you me, I started sending stock that, sorry, can I ramble a little bit? Very quick
ahead,
story,
go
and then
ahead.
we can get back to the rapid fire. Long story short, sent them some stuff which was very cool, very trendy, and I was like, Raipur mein kaun kharidega? Sold out. I was like, they're more fashion forward than Delhi because, I don't know how it works. There's something there. But I think that focus is, Shivani, you'll be surprised. It's really changing. And fashion forward cities, Hyderabad does crazy fashion. Better than Mumbai and Delhi. I think we guys now need to up our game as Delhiites because tier 2 is coming for us.
Okay. To the budding entrepreneurs over here, keep that in mind. My next question: the biggest sin in the Indian fashion industry today?
Copy paste.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was
There is
good.
no authenticity left anymore.
For me, it's just generating waste.
I figured.
If you just put together everything and look amazing, and you just have the shit pile in the backyard, it's nothing great about it.
I have a word, greenwashing.
All right. That's a good word.
Yeah.
A traditional craft that needs a modern makeover immediately.
Chicken curry.
Okay.
Your answers are good, Shivani.
I'll give an example. So I attended this event yesterday from this brand called Suhani Gurnani, and I was wearing these chicken curry pants with this modern top. So it looked really nice. So it had a modern touch as well as it was traditional.
Okay, that's good.
Shiva, you go next.
I don't know. I find kalamkari really busy, and that needs to. So kalamkari is one thing for me, which I really like, but I don't know. I find there's too much happening. It needs to stand out.
Yeah, actually, completely of it, I
but
agree.
yeah, that's a very personal choice.
I'm actually doing something with this one beautiful Rajasthani applique work. It's called Barmer, where it's this cutout and then they just, it's all hand applique. It's monochrome, which I love, and which is very different for Indian crafts. Usually it's so rich in color, but this is usually white or something really, really muted. So yeah, Barmeri embroidery.
All right. Describe the future of the Indian industry in exactly one word. 2 words.
Global. Global.
Global. Okay. The Indian fashion situation in one word.
You want me to go? Okay. The future of Indian fashion. One word.
Okay,
That's
a
my
few
problem.
words if it makes life easier.
Superpower.
All right, that's good. Global, superpower.
I'm not sure. I have too many things in my head going on.
That's fair.
There's too many trade policies, this and that.
Okay.
We are in a fix.
All right, a final word to the panelists. One line that you'd like to leave, something to think about for the audience today. A
Could you
piece of
repeat that
suggestion,
question, please?
advice.
Could you please repeat that question?
Okay, so a piece of advice or a suggestion that you'd like to give to the audience today, maybe for their next purchase.
Can I go first?
Yeah, go.
I think people need to start buying those pieces that you can rewear again and again instead of buying those kinds of pieces that are just trendy and after wearing it once they're just going to be lying in the back of your closet. So I just feel like that conscious buying is what I would advise. Buy quality over quantity.
All right. Quality over quantity.
That was what Shubhi was going to say. Okay, go. Your advice.
I mean, ask rationale-based questions. You should not wrap up your questions at size, color, and style. Nobody really flips the label. And we have this thing, we had started a campaign called, "What is it made of?" So, right from your furniture to your clothing, textile is your second skin. Without textile, I mean, that's the largest organ on your body. If you're not knowing what you're wearing, you're breathing through it. So, I mean, up your game in questions and more rational, educate yourself. It's your second skin.
Okay, so whatever you're consuming, think again, understand why you're buying what you're buying.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, actually. I think overconsumption is why we are where we are. I mean, I think there's a lot of young people here and...
Sorry, but not only overconsumption, but people are very
Mindless consumption.
gung-ho about, oh, this is recycled in H&M or Decathlon or so-and-so.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, greenwashing, it's
Yeah,
terrible.
I mean, you're not even asking what is being recycled. What is recyclable? What is recycled here? It's recycled, and you're psyched about it.
And you know, when it comes to zero waste, actually, I just want to really quickly say that all small fashion businesses, at least around where I work in Shahpur Jat, we are upcycling and recycling because we are forced to. Kapda bahut mehenga hai, wo aata hai, and we really need to make sure that we get the best out of it. Our resources as small businesses are limited. I would never cancel a 40-meter garment just because something went wrong. Be creative. Make something around it, explain it. I really feel like small fashion Indian businesses have been actually very sustainable simply because even the way we cut is very intelligent. You
No,
need...
but sustainability is also decentralized. If you put
Yes.
power at one place,
Yes.
it's not going to work. So
It needs-
decentralization is the way.
is key. So, I mean, just to answer your question, I think for the younger people here, it's really important to believe that you can change systems. Don't feel like you're stuck in a system. There's nothing written in stone. Question everything, like she said, and make it your own. Just walk your own path, do your own thing, stick to your beliefs. Of course, research and fundamentally know what you're doing. Fashion gets a bad reputation. Honestly, some of it with very good reason. So you guys have the onus now of kind of shifting that narrative, as we all are trying to do in our own ways. So rethink the system and break out of it. It's time for a change, and you guys can, I think, make it happen.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Any questions from the audience? Yes, of course, ma'am.
I asked about a craft which needs to change.
A makeover.
Yeah. I'm from Kolkata, so I see a lot of kantha. I'm very, very fond of kantha. I own a lot of kantha, but I feel that they are stuck in a niche with their colors, too many colors, too busy. They should become a little more for the modern. I'm sure everybody can hear me.
She used to be a teacher. That's my mom, guys, by the way, I have to tell you. She's an ex-teacher.
I feel that kantha should be modernized a little to suit the younger generation more as well as the elderly like me. I also love wearing kantha, but in a more subtle form. Too many colors, too busy, you know. So that is my take on kantha.
Thank you so much, ma'am. A big round of applause for ma'am. Thank you. Any more questions from the audience? Yes, please go ahead. Can we pass the mic to the lady here, please? Thank you.
Hi everybody, thank you for this insightful session. I'm Astha, a law student from IILM University. Although I'm really curious about the intersection of law and fashion. My question to you is that where do you feel that the legal protection is lacking in the fashion industry? Yeah.
In any particular segment for humans or for environment or
The
for
fashion industry, I guess.
Yeah, legal protection for humans or for?
For the work, for the sustainability, for piracy of the work.
So more copy paste.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm just going to take that in case. I think it's actually a good question because I mean after the show I was on, I've never had legal counsel before that, but I think it's important for small businesses that are growing and people in fashion to definitely, number one, we normally just go through contracts without really paying attention to it because it's so much paperwork and it's so much fine print. Big mistake, don't do that. I think the law can really, really be on your side when it comes to securing yourself in terms of, various different things. And it works also in a way that protects your creativity to a large extent. It's difficult to defend design. It's not the easiest, IP is tricky. But for example, trademarks are very important. I think a lot of smaller businesses don't know that, don't do that. So it's a good question. I think fashion does need to rely more on law and legal processes. And hopefully, as and when all of you start working and get into the industry, you'll make sure that at important points in your career, you do take legal counsel. It's important.
All right, thank you. And thank you for that question. It encourages us to promote our design and law course. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we've introduced it. I think it's important for the final year students before they get into any sort of design entrepreneurship to learn a bit about the law.
That is actually amazing. I had no idea you guys had that. That's amazing.
So, thank you. All right, any other questions? Yes, Siddhant. Please go ahead. So we have a special guest. I was going to come to you. Siddhant has joined us today. He has something to add.
Thank you for the kind words. What I wanted to add to the student who just asked the question was that when you're looking at law, also be very mindful of the colonial tendencies of the current law pattern. So when you're talking about trademarks, when you're talking about patents, be very mindful these laws were created for monopolization. And like Shubhi very well mentioned, decentralization is the way forward. So when you're looking at protecting rights for designers, protecting rights for makers, be very, very mindful that there's a whole ecosystem which brings them the design. So it should not also be that binary that only the person sitting behind the desktop is protected, but the whole ecosystem should be. So it's a very, very gray matter. It can't be that black and white. So I think if you as a legal person going forward as a legal professional, you should probably make that change in the legal system.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, please go ahead.
Hello, I wanted to ask Shivani ma'am something. In your experience, how does fashion shape concept or self-concept or identity among young adults? Because you were a content creator before, and I feel like you're the youngest one out here selling clothes and something. So how do you feel that clothes and sizing and everything helps you shape your self-concept? Does fast fashion help you, or does sustainability help you?
For me personally, I think sustainability, because I really like re-wearing old pieces. So my background is also fashion. My grandfather was a garment exporter. He was the one who launched denim in India. So what I've noticed is that all those old pieces that are there in the factory, I love like taking those out and wearing them. Like maybe my mom's Ritu Kumar shirt, like 20 years old, I would love to re-wear it now with a modern twist, in my way. So, like I would definitely style it differently, and that's what I personally, that's what I had said earlier also, that re-wearing pieces in a different way is how you can promote more sustainability. Yeah, I hope that answers.
It's also an individual choice, so I think do what works for you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? All right. I'm not going to summarize what's already been said today, But I think what we've heard today is that the Indian lens is not narrow, it is expansive. There's space for both craft and commerce, artisans and algorithms. And both handwork and digital concepts are important and the way forward. Thank you to our panelists for being so honest, and to all of you for being here today. The conversation doesn't end here, it moves with us. Thank you so much.
So we tend to think that learning happens only inside a classroom under fluorescent lights and through formal instruction. But the fact is that learning happens everywhere, in a space like this, in everyday life. And I hope we continue these conversations outside these rooms. So this is not the end of Words in the Garden. In fact, we're going to look forward to the next event that's going to happen next year. I would like to thank all the moderators, the panelists, Mrs. Gayatri Rai, the students, the faculty, the organizers for this lovely and successful event. So until we meet again, thank you and have a very good evening.